welcome to the podcast, Nadine. It is so lovely to have you here.
Hey ladies, thanks so much for having me. Such a joy to chat.
Always. Now, we've just heard your official elevator pitch. Nadine Nethery can do content. But what's something that we wouldn't know about you just from looking at you on socials or over on your website? Give us a little behind the scenes, Nadine.
Yeah, so at heart, I'm quite nerdy, which might surprise some people. Some people probably aren't surprised. Who knows? But I am a translator by trade, German to English translator. So I've lived in Australia pretty much half of my life, and then the first half in Germany before I met my hubby in an Aussie pub in London. Cringe.
Classic.
But, I'm the European souvenir that he took back. So my flair for words and my absolute love of languages and how it all flows, how it all works together, all the intricacies that come with it really come from background in translating in German and English and learning, everything about languages.
That is so cool. I did not know that about you. And we've known each other for a few years. So there you go. Now, today we are obviously talking about audience research and why it is so important, not only at the start of your business, but really any time. What does that look like? What is client research? Talk us through it, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it's something that we hear all the time, right? Online business owners are told all the time, you need to get to know your audience. Need to get granular, and it's something that unfortunately I so often see business owners skip simply because they're too busy, they don't really see the point, and they know their audience inside out, right? That's what I hear so often. I know my audience, we don't need to take that step back.
Yeah, they make a lot of assumptions versus going out there and asking questions.
Exactly. And every time I talk to particularly new business owners that reach out to me for help with their copy, my first question is, so have you ever done any research to actually get to know your audience? Have you surveyed your audience? Have you jumped on conversations, phone calls, Zoom chats with your ideal customer, not your family, not your mum's bestie who thinks she knows everything about your product? So actual people perfectly positioned to buy from you. And the answer I get is, no, I haven't, but I do know that they're 30 to 50-year-old mums living in inner city Melbourne, and they're working in corporate and they're really educated. And I go, well, that's all good, but what about up here? What's going on in their mind? What keeps them up at night? What are they trying to achieve by picking your product, working with you as a service provider? And so what things are they telling themselves about potential roadblocks, about where they are on their business journey, hurdles that are standing between them and actually taking action. And audience research is really going straight to the source and asking your audience the right questions, a very strategic set of questions to uncover all the thought processes and the mindset, which is so important to copy and messaging that really connects. And in my projects, in my copy work, that is always the starting point. Because copy can't connect if you don't know your audience, if you don't know how they're talking about their problems, about their state of mind, and then integrating that into your messaging to really connect.
So you've just touched on the surface a bit about this, and we three know we can talk to the cows come home about this next question that I'm going to ask. Why does it matter? What is the point? Why does this audience research actually matter to a small business owner?
Yeah, so it is really the basis for everything in your business. As superficial as it sounds, it really can educate your messaging, even the products that you create to really solve some of those problems that people are telling you about. It helps you speak the language that your audience speaks, because messaging that really connects should be a blend of everything that makes you unique. So your brandisms, words that are so uniquely you as a brand that people can pick you straight away. And then also throwing in the actual terms and expressions that your audience uses and making it tangible, because we can all talk to empowering business owners and, elevating your sales and increasing your visibility, all these fluffy expressions. When you go straight to the source, the beauty of that is your audience actually can speak to tangible results. So to, tripling their leads and their conversions, to regaining 20 hours in their week because they've implemented your automations that you set up for them. So it's really making it relatable and speaking to what that means for their specific life on a daily basis, rather than just being airy-fairy. And people read your copy and they go, this is all good, but how does this relate back to my life and my reality?
Yes. Oh my gosh. And the timing of this couldn't be better, because Instagram Unpacked started yesterday, and what's the very first lesson we do? We start with unpacking your ideal customer, right? And the benefit, I love all those benefits that you've just mentioned. One of the other ones, let's be selfish here, for us as the people marketing our business, is it makes our lives so much easier, doesn't it? Once you know who your customer is, you know those pain points, you take those exact words and phrases, because you can use them in your copy, on your sales page, in your emails, wherever, to get that message across. Now, I know that you've mentioned before that client research isn't just a one-time thing, but how often should we be repeating this? Is this something that we do like once a year, or are we just doing this when we change direction in our business or launch a new offer?
Yeah, I would definitely sense check, the room every 6 odd months. Just do a mass survey of your audience to get fresh intel, because let's face it, our environment keeps changing all the time. So talking, pandemics, recessions, economic crisis, like there's so much happening, especially at the moment. And that means your messaging needs to change as well, because what might have really landed 2 years ago definitely isn't landing anymore today. So it's really gathering that fresh mindset, and that, the pain points that are front of mind, what people are experiencing right now today, and making sure that your messaging and also your product still aligns with their expectations and the way they want to consume your content as well. And then doing it on a regular basis as well. So one-off surveys are great, but you can also sense check your messaging, how your course is landing at various points throughout your student journey or even your customer experience. So really tapping into that fresh experience is a great way to capture front of mind learnings, quick wins that are coming from taking your course, or having your deliverables in their inbox. So really working out when on the customer journey, on the client journey, is a great point to ask a few very strategic questions. Again, people don't have time for lengthy surveys. So if you can break it up into bite-sized chunks, that's even better, to really just ask them 2 or 3 pointed questions, and people are very willing to share that with you.
Are you finding that doing something like a Zoom call is beneficial? Are people willing to jump on those, or is it more the surveys?
I was going to ask the same thing.
Yeah. How I usually go about it is I start with the survey, and then you quickly pick up people that are very generous with their insights, or they've got a really interesting different angle that you want to explore further. So from experience, if you jump on a call with people that are very short and brief with their answers, is not necessarily going to get you anywhere. Often you'll see people, writing literally paragraphs in open-ended questions, and those people are very willing to jump on a call usually, and they want you to succeed as well. If they're your customers, your clients, you've helped them to wins, they are very generous with their insights, and often, if you set it up as a 10 to 15 minute quick chat, they're very willing to jump on a call.
So we've just mentioned this, Zoom is using one of these tools to do audience research. But as we've seen in the last few months, there's been an absolute explosion of productivity tools, mainly within AI, that can help everyone and anyone at any point in time. When it comes to specifically about the audience research process, are there some AI tools that you have started using that you find incredibly helpful?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been using Otter AI for quite some time to transcribe those customer conversations, simply because it means I can be in the moment. I don't have to scribble. I don't have to, focus and listen, ask questions, all the things at the same time. And it also helps me then as well analyze that chat later, pick up the terminology, the exact language that the person has used. But I've also been tapping into ChatGPT for my processes, but not in a way that outsources getting to know my audience, just to help speed up that analysis process. As an example, if you have a spreadsheet with your objections, your pain points, so you've organized it all, you can get ChatGPT to summarize it for you and analyze it, really pick up trends. If you've got hundreds and hundreds of responses, you can also feed it the raw data and go, I've just sent out a survey to this audience asking them about this question. Here are the answers. Can you give me, trends, summary, analysis, and then even follow up? You can ask, how would you package or address these objections, pain points, desires in content pieces as well? So it really helps speed up the process to get your head around that initial trend and start thinking. But again, when it comes to picking up the actual language and those sticky terms, as I like to call them, those quotes that are just too genius to ignore, it still comes down to you to actually go through it and pick it up, because that's not something artificial intelligence, unfortunately, can do for us. So it still involves you as the human, as the brain behind your brand, to make those educated decisions and sense check, especially what ChatGPT or other AI tools spit out for you. So it will never replace us. It can just speed up that, thought process and ideation for us as well, to just spark that something and overcome blank page syndrome.
Yes, I love this idea of getting it to organize those responses. I wouldn't have thought to use it like that. So that's really useful. So if you do one of these big surveys and you get all these responses in, it's definitely going to shortcut that process. But like you said, we don't want to replace the process with ChatGPT. And this is something that we spoke about in an earlier episode with Dennis Yu. We're all about technology and AI and about how it can be a really powerful tool, but what it does is it amplifies what's already happening. So it amplifies laziness, let's be honest.
Yeah.
It amplifies if you don't know what you're talking about, or if you really don't know your audience as well. And I would love to hear your thoughts on, I guess, what are you seeing out there, Nadine? Tell us the truth. What are you seeing from these charlatans who are trying to pass off ChatGPT for audience research? Spill.
Yes. Well, with trends, and everyone seems to be jumping on the ChatGPT AI bandwagon, trying to monetize their knowledge and their expertise and trying to push incredible time savings. So I've seen a trend where people recommend skipping the whole surveying, talking to your people process, and asking ChatGPT to assume they are XYZ audience, they are trying to solve XYZ problem, and organizing objections, pain points, desires, all the things I talked about before, into table format. And people then take that and run with it to prompt ChatGPT to come up with topics that address objections, etc. And apparently you can save hours and hours of your time doing that, which, yes, you have apparent insights very quickly, and you are up and running very quickly. But does it really connect with your audience if it's based on biases? It lacks emotion, because let's face it, ChatGPT can't empathize with people. It can't feel emotions. So all that analysis piece really comes from a machine, artificial intelligence, and it doesn't include your unique perspective as a business owner and your analysis piece. Plus, it doesn't actually allow you to look at the data on a granular level. For example, splitting it up into people who have had experience with your product or similar products, people who are completely new to it. So it really lacks detail, it lacks emotion, it includes biases, and it has in no shape or form anything to do with your perfect fit customer, because AI doesn't know your brand, it doesn't know your audience, and it just really falls flat. So as I said, absolutely embrace ChatGPT and AI to speed up the process, but I highly, highly recommend not skipping this process and taking the time to go to the source and invest that time, because it is what's going to guarantee you success with your messaging, your marketing, etc., because it's based on first-hand insights and not some artificial intelligence.
I think you raised a great point, Nadine, with the way you use ChatGPT and the way we see others use it in almost that viral sense of it's just going to do all the work for you. Whereas you are using ChatGPT almost to go, I have this pile of information, analyze it, which is exactly what an AI or any form of tech. Excel does it in a basic level. You just happen to be manually doing it. But what you're saying is you're using AI, you're using ChatGPT to do that analyzing. Whereas most people are using it for the creativity side almost. And that where that gray area of analytics and creativity come into play, that's a lot of people don't realize how much more talented they are at.
Yeah. And I think, ChatGPT, as I said, it's how I use it and how I see it is it's meant to free up time for you to be more creative and really tap into your creativity rather than trusting it to be your creative outlet out there. So it's really just speeding up that thought process, overcoming decision paralysis, finding that unique angle, and then sparking that something. But I wouldn't rely on it for client projects. For the research piece, as I said, it is just meant to be your assistant to speed things up and really do the dirty work for you so you can focus on your zone of genius.
So how do you ensure that you are making that research process a regular routine within your business? And what shortcuts do you use to make sure that your audience research is constantly, I guess, moving or flowing and getting that information in?
Yeah, I break up my insights into bite-sized chunks. So really capturing it live in the moment and automating it in my daily client onboarding processes, also in my digital product branch of my business, automating that intake surveys, even quick win one question surveys after each module to just go, share your aha moment with me. What triggered watching this lesson or shifting that mindset? And when it comes to the onboarding process, really integrating questions that you need to know that you've been curious about into your onboarding survey. So your audience actually has to respond because it's part of the process. So really capturing that mindset fresh. They've just booked you. They've just invested in you. They've trusted in your brand and in your expertise. So really tapping into the problems that they're trying to face, what the struggles in the moment that they're hoping to solve. Then also as you're delivering your deliverables, whether that's your social media strategy, your web design, so, your copy project. So as that touches down in their inbox, really grabbing that initial excitement and the quick win, the mindset shift. How does it feel to have this copy? What are you going to do with it? All those questions, again, integrated into a quick survey. And then what I do as well, all automated via my CRM, is touch base with them about 3 months after delivering the copy, just to get those tangible, hard-hitting results, as in how has the work with me, the copy that I've written for you, impacted your sales, your conversion numbers, your email open rates, whatever that might look like. And then that allows me retrospectively to piece together this amazing piece of research. So really looking at that whole picture, but also, nice side effect, it gives me a really good testimonial that I can add to various things, sales pages, emails, etc. That takes the potential client on a journey with that past client. So before working with Nadine, I was struggling to write copy. Clients just didn't resonate with my copy, and I was attracting the wrong type of clients who didn't fill my cup. Then Nadine was amazing to work with. She was really strategic, And after 3 months down the track, I can see that the type of clients I work with has shifted. So it really helps you relive that journey and see what's possible for you. And it's all on autopilot. As I say, I very rarely survey my audience in bulk. It's just all collecting pieces as students go through my courses and as clients go through their journey with me. And then I just set aside some very strategic, regular time every few months to look through it all, make sure the messaging's still aligned, see whether I can add any fresh testimonials to my sales pages, and really keep my messaging evolving with the environment and with shifting insights from customers. And it doesn't take very much time at all.
I love this process, and it gives you, like you said, that complete picture of where they were, how they were feeling during the time of working with you, and then afterwards, and especially this surveying them 3 months after delivery, because sometimes it takes that long for them to start seeing the results. Often I find with students especially, they're in your course, they're learning, but it's not till afterwards that they actually start implementing. And so if you're just surveying them while they're there with you or immediately after, you might not see those results because they're not going to happen until they actually start that implementation. Your conversation has just sparked a thought for me. As of the time that we are recording this, Instagram's new app Threads has gone live. It's about 5 days old now, over 100 million users, which is just wild. But I would love to hear your hot take on how you think Threads could be used for audience research. And I'm totally putting you on the spot here.
I know, right?
But I know, and I would also love to know, because I've seen that you're over there, as a copywriter, you must be loving it because, of course, it is all text-based and we don't need to be showing up on video as such. It can just be our random thoughts. Are you loving it, and what potential do you see in terms of audience research?
Yeah, I have signed up. I have scrolled, absorbed, digested, and my mindset is just not, I'm not ready for another app yet. Sure, I'm not the only one, mum of 3.
Yes.
I'm like, I need more in my life. I do like the idea of quick, raw insights though. So social media in general, just seeing that I don't have first-hand experiences with Threads is a goldmine, full stop though, for research, particularly if you don't have a lot of clients to your name yet, or you are considering shifting niches, going into a new type of product or serving a different audience. And really, it's all about listening to those conversations. So rather than asking your existing audience, you can totally piggyback on competitor conversations that are happening, comments that people leave on their website, on their social media following profiles. So absolutely make note of, again, the topics that come up, the things that people discuss, and I can see Threads absolutely fitting into that category because people are so unscripted, especially right now. I don't know how it's going to go. Everything sort of becomes a bit more polished over time.
It's so wild right now. I'm loving it. Just every unhinged thought is out there, which is amazing.
It's like Twitter when it was released.
Yeah. So let's see what happens to it over time. Let's hope it stays raw, uncut, unscripted.
So Nadine, I've got an on-the-fly question for you as well.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips in terms of these audience research questions for someone who's going to try and set this up for the first time? What tips do you have in terms of forming those questions besides don't create yes or no questions, make them open-ended? I guess, do you have any advice for somebody who is going to try and set this up themselves for the first time ever, what they should do?
Yeah. Absolutely. So don't get tempted to load your survey up with 50 questions because people are busy, and the more questions you have, the more likely people are going to drop off and going to go, oh my God, like it's just too hard. So I would stick to probably a max of 10, 11 questions and really make them all valid and relevant and make sure they serve the bigger purpose of your survey. Also a big fan of, so I personally use Google Forms for my surveys, and it's super easy to use, and I love resorting to conditional questions. So really branching your survey out into different questions based on their first response. So I've just done a survey for an existing client that I'm currently working with. So she's very successful in her current niche, but she's trying to branch out into a new niche. And so we were very curious to see how people's mindset varied on whether they had experience with her current offer or whether they had never played in that space before. So what we did is start the survey with a conditional question. Have you launched XYZ before? And then based on those questions, we branched it out into a different set of questions. And the results were incredible. So it really showed up the mindset gaps that we had to close for people who hadn't experienced product A because it's related to product B. to be ready to play in that space. And so for her, that's given her tons of content piece ideas for her pre-launch process, just to move people up to be ready to even receive her offer. And yeah, it's just really uncovered the different personalities and mindsets that come with different stages of business as well. So conditional questions are genius and so easy to implement.
And by conditional question, you mean if this person answers this way, then they will be given this question. If this person answers no, then they'll get these questions. Okay.
Yeah. So it branches people into different sets. And then the spreadsheet, the raw data you get at the end, it's super easy to filter. So one question, for example, we had in there because she hasn't launched the particular product yet. She's running a beta round, and we asked people what they would love to see in her course that she's launching. And so it's actually helping her not only shape the messaging that I'm going to use in her sales page, but it also helps her make sure all the inclusions, all those things that people said, oh my God, if you add XYZ in there, I'll buy it. So she's actually in the background now adding all these bonuses to make sure it's addressing all the things, all the objections that people might have had for joining. So it's super, super powerful.
Yeah, I did some audience research a few weeks back, and we asked the same question, like, what would you want to see about this? And we got, oh, we want this. We'd love to see more of that. Hey, I've got a question about this over here. And like all this other stuff, that it led to so many more ideas on what we could provide potential clients as well as existing clients, that again, like, oh, okay, well, there's a whole other project that we can do over here. There's so much more content we can do about this that we haven't even thought of.
It's genius, isn't it?
It's a great open-ended question. What else would you like? Because everybody wants to give their opinion as well.
Exactly. And that's why having drop-downs and tick boxes is such a trap. They seem easy and logical because, again, you know your audience, right? So you just think they want X, Y, Z products, but the magic might lie somewhere completely different. So if you try to steer them into your assumptions, it just really closes off opportunity for that growth, extra new ideas, and a bright spark where you might go, oh my God, it's a new course. I hadn't even considered a new way of serving my audience, something that I can add more value with. So it's genius.
I love that. That is such a good idea. Oh my goodness, I'm going to do this. Have you ever discovered in the survey process, or have you ever been working with clients, maybe not your own, where you've realized my audience is not my ideal customer?
It can happen.
There's a likelihood that could happen as part of this process, and then you realize, oh, okay, I've got the completely wrong people on my email list, for example. Has that ever happened for you or for your clients?
No, thankfully not. But what has happened before is that, again, talking to people, they were very sold. So it's an e-com brand. They were very sold on their point of difference, why people buy from them. And all their marketing was geared towards that particular point of difference. So it was all about the type of fabric that they're using in their product. And when we surveyed their audience, so we got over 100 responses. They have a very active Facebook community of existing customers. So people were very generous with their insights. It turned out the true zone of genius was somewhere completely different. It was all about that community aspect, the support, the teaching, and also the inclusivity. So their marketing, quite, not on purpose, was showing, mums, dads, other carers. So it was all about that sense of community around the brand, and the actual fabric that they were so sold on being their point of difference didn't feature once in the answers. So it really is a good sense check, especially if you're new in business, you've marketed and set your business up in a certain way, assuming that is the way to market. It really helps you hone in on your point of difference and then shift your messaging to a place that feels more aligned and really speaks to your point of difference, your zone of genius that people value and love you for. So sometimes that can happen when you go, oh my God, I've been marketing, I've been going down the completely wrong path. And if I just shifted to this messaging, it's going to be so much more impactful.
And again, that comes back to the benefit of actually doing this. It's going to save you a lot of time and money not going out there with the wrong messaging, trying to talk to the wrong people potentially, or talk to the right people but in the wrong way. So amazing. Thank you so much for all of these insights. This has been incredible. So many like little gold nuggets in here in amongst all of this. We've got a few quick fire questions for you as well, because that's always fun. But before we get on to those, I know that you actually have a freebie. Tell us a little bit about that for people who are wanting to go out and start this process of actually talking to their audience. You've got some questions. Is that right, Nadine?
Yes, absolutely do. Because, as a mum of three, I know we all are too busy, and I do want to remove that excuse that there's no time in the calendar to do it. So what I have done is put together 10 strategic survey questions that I use in my one-on-one client project. So they're proven, they're strategic, and they get you the insights that I've just been talking about. And they are ready for you to swipe. So simply tweak them slightly to be relevant for your brand, and you can plug them into free survey tools like Google Forms, Typeform, etc. And that means you are up and running on your own audience research journey, and hopefully that uncovers aha moments, new ideas, ways to tweak your messaging, etc. And I've also thrown in 9 social media prompts for your Instagram stories, because sometimes you just want to sense check an idea on social media, and so I've given you some strategic questions there as well to tap into.
Amazing. We will obviously link to that in the show notes, along with some of those other tools that you've mentioned throughout this episode. So if you're listening and you want to get started and grab Nadine's freebie, by all means, head over to madmarketingmums.com and find the show notes for this episode to grab that freebie. But yeah, let's have a little fun from all the question that we have started asking everybody. And we know that you are a busy business mum as well. What is your top tip for busy parent-only businesses? And this is the perfect time to ask it, because we've just finished school holidays. You're still in school holidays. How are you managing it, Nadine?
My go-to is boundaries. It took me a while to get there, but very clearly defined boundaries when it comes to my services, my timelines, when I'm available for my customers. It not only serves me, so I can actually switch off once I'm done, but it also helps my customers know, when they can expect to hear from me, how long it's going to take me to get back to them, when the project's going to be delivered. So really boundaries. And I'm going to throw a second one in there because I'm a huge fan, automating and systems. So really having a solid CRM behind you, that means you don't have to manually send out onboarding questionnaires, etc. So there's so much in your business that you can automate, and I have freed up so many hours of my time by systemizing things and automating things.
I'm going to jump to the last quick fire question, because I've been dying to ask it. What's your favorite word?
Yeah.
As you're a copywriter, I thought maybe we may as well just ask what your favorite word is.
No, that is, my 4-year-old keeps banging on about it, because my 12-year-old introduced it to the family. Onomatopoeia, which she learned.
We were talking about that word the other day. It's my favorite word.
How funny. It's literally, I hear it on a daily basis. My daughter going, Jetty, can you say onomatopoeia? And so my little one, who's currently doing speech therapy, is trying his hardest to get onomatopoeia out. So it's my absolute favorite word right now. It can change over time, but just loving it because it's so cute to watch the two of them interact.
I thought you were going to go on and saying favorite word right now because of your 4-year-old is like fart or.
They're not my favorites.
Onomatopoeia.
They're frequent, but not favorites.
They feature heavily certain body parts and bodily functions, but they're not my favorite.
No.
I do love discombobulated as well. I think that's a good one. There's just something really good about that. Yeah. All right, let's go back to marketing. quickly to wrap up. In terms of, we spoke a little bit about AI before. We don't want to make this a whole big plug for AI, but it can be useful for shortcutting that process, as we spoke about. What tips do you have when it comes to tweaking AI generated copy? So if people do want to use it for some shortcuts. They are, of course, prompting it in the right way. But how do you then take what AI puts out and make it sound like your own?
Yeah, so I love brandisms. So really words that are uniquely you, that your signature way of showing up. So really making sure you're turning the formal, cold ChatGPT lingo into something that's truly you. But I have to say, really getting the foundations right and knowing who you are as a brand, how you show up helps you really prompt correctly. And it means you don't have to do that much tweaking at the end. So really being clear on your audience. As I said, that's the audience research part, but then also how you show up and your traits as a brand as well. So really prompting it and training it in the right way. Even giving it samples. So if you have writing samples, you can absolutely train ChatGPT and say, this is an example. So model the output based on this writing sample to hopefully get it closer to what you normally show up like.
Love that. And that word brandism, that's another great word as well.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right, last quick fire question. Are there any copywriters or marketers that you would recommend our audience follow that you think that you learned so much from them, just as much as we could or our audience could?
Yeah, so seeing that we're on topic sort of ChatGPT AI, so there's 2 recommendations I can make. So Amy Williamson of Damn Right, she has just launched a course for those of you who are wanting to go deep into the AI topic, but she even has a free sort of prompt cheat sheet out there that you can sign up for. And she just really is very active in that space. And yeah, I've learned a lot from her. And then also a podcast that I've been binge listening to lately, Kira Hug and Rob Marsh from the Copywriter Club. So they have their Copywriter Club podcast specifically for copywriters, but they are also very active in the AI space. And the podcast is called AI for Creatives. And they are just experiencing all sides of AI for all sorts of creative entrepreneurs like us, and the implications and considerations. So it's really good and should be on anyone's listen, hot list at the moment.
That will probably be in my earbuds this afternoon.
Yeah, well, and we spoke about Amy's ChatGPT freebie that she has actually when we were over on another podcast. That was Ninky Marketing. We were guests on that podcast, and I was plugging Amy's freebie because it is really good. Go check it out. Again, I will link it in the show notes for those listening. Go and grab that, grab Nadine's freebie, get all the freebies, soak it all in, and enjoy the process. Well, thank you once again for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure, which, to be honest, I had no doubts it would be. It's always so nice chatting with you, Nadine, and I've learned a lot. I'm sure our audience is just going to be loving this episode, and if you are listening, please drop us a rating and a review wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Let us know what you thought about Nadine's session. This is us doing a little bit of audience research here. We would love to hear your feedback, or you can slide into our DMs either on Instagram or on TikTok at Mad Marketing Mums.
Thank you so much, Nadine, for coming.
Thanks for having me, ladies.